who had more joy to range the forest wide, and chase the salvage beast with busy paine, than serve his ladie's love, and wast in pleasures vaine. The forlorn mayd did with loves longing burne, and could not lacke her lovers company, but to the wood she goes, to serve her turne, and seeke her spouse, that from her still does fly, and followes other game and venerie. A Satyr chanced her wandring for to find, and kindling coales of lust in brutifh eye, the loyal links of wedlocke did unbind, and made her person thrall unto his beaftly kind. So long in secret cabin there he held her captive to his sensuall desire, that with timely fruit her belly swelled, and bore a boy unto that salvage sire. Then home he suffered her for to retire, for ransome leaving him the late borne child, whom till to riper years he gan aspire, he nourfled up in life and manners wild, amongft wild beafts and woods, from lawes of men exiled. For all he taught the tender impe was but to banifh cowardize and baftard feare. His trembling hand he would him force to put upon the lyon and the rugged beare, and from the she beares teats her whelps to teare. And eke wild roaring bulls he would him make to tame, and ride their backs not made to beare, and the roebucks in flight to overtake, that every beaft for feare of him did fly and quake. Thereby so feareleffe and so fell he grew, that his owne sire and maister of his guize did often tremble at his horrid view, and oft for dread of hurt would him advize the angry beafts not rashly to despize, nor too much to provoke, for he would learne the lyon stoupe to him in lowly wize, a lesson hard, and make the libbard fterne leave roaring, when in rage he for revenge did earne. And for to make his powre approved more, wild beafts in iron yokes he would compell, the spotted panther and the tusked boare, the pardale swift and the tyger cruel, the antelope and wolfe both fierce and fell, and them conftraine in equal teame to draw. Such joy he had their stubborn hearts to quell, and fturdy courage tame with dreadful awe, that his beheft they feared as tyrants law. His loving mother came upon a day unto the woods to see her little sonne, and chanced unwares to meet him in the way after his sports and cruel paftime done, when after him a lyoneffe did run, that roaring all with rage did loud require her children deare, whom he away had won. The lyon whelps she faw how he did beare, and lull in rugged armes, withouten childifh feare. The fearefull dame all quaked at the fight, and turning backe gan faft to fly away, untill with love revoked from vaine affright, she hardly yet perfwaded was to ftay, and then to him thefe womanifh words gan say: Ah Satyrane, my dearling and my joy, for love of me leave off this dreadfull play, to dally thus with death is no fit toy, go find some other playfellowes, mine owne fweet boy. In thefe and like delights of bloody game he trayned was, till riper years he wrought, and there abode, while any beaft of name walked in that forest, whom he had not taught to feare his force, and then his courage haught desired of forreign foemen to be knowne, and farre abroad for ftrange adventures fought, in which his might was never overthrowne, but through all Faerie land his famous worth was blowne. Yet evermore it was his manner faire, after long labours and adventures fpent, unto thofe native woods for to repaire, to see his sire and offspring ancient. And now he thither came for like intent, where he unwares the fairest Una found, ftrange Lady, in fo ftrange habiliment, teaching the Satyrs, which her sat around, true sacred lore, which from her fweet lips did redound. He wondred at her wisdom heavenly rare, whofe like in womens wit he never knew, and when her courteous deeds he did compare, gan her admire, and her fad forrowes rue, blaming of fortune, which such troubles threw, and joyd to make proofe of her cruelty on gentle dame, so hurtleffe and so true. Thenceforth he kept her goodly company, and learned her discipline of faith and verity. But she all vowed unto the red cross knight, his wandring perill closely did lament, ne in this new acquaintance could delight, but her deare heart with anguifh did torment, and all her wit in secret counsels fpent, how to efcape. At laft in privy wize to Satyrane she fhewed her intent, who glad to gaine fuch favour, gan devize, how with that penfive mayd he beft might thence arize. So on a day, when Satyrs all were gone, to do their fervice to Sylvanus old, The gentle virgin left behind alone he led away with courage stout and bold. Too late it was, to satyrs to be told, or ever hope recover her again. In vain he seeks that having cannot hold, so fast he carried her with carefull paine, that they the woods are past, and come now to the plaine. The better part now of the lingring day they travelled had, when as they far efpide a weary wight forewandering by the way, and towards him they gan in haft to ride, to weet of newes that did abroad betide, or tidings of her Knight of the Red Cross. But he them spying gan to turn afide, for feare as feemed, or for some feigned loffe, more greedy they of newes, faft towards him do croffe. A filly man, in fimple weedes foreworne, and foiled with duft of the long dryed way, his fandals were with toilsome travell torne, and face all tanned with scorching funny ray, as he had travelled many a fommers day, through boiling sands of Araby and Ind, and in his hand a Jacobs ftaffe, to ftay his weary limbs uppon, and eke behind his fcrip did hang, in which his needments he did bind. The Knight approaching nigh of him enquir'd tidings of warre and of adventures new, but warres nor new adventures none he heard. Then Una gan to aske, if ought he knew, or heard abroad of that her champion trew, that in his armour bare a crosslet red. Ay me, deare Dame, quoth he, well may I rue to tell the sad fight, which mine eyes have red. These eyes did see that Knight both living and eke dead. That cruel word her tender heart so thrild, that sudden cold did run through every veine, and stony horror all her senses fild, with dying fit that downe she fell for paine. The Knight her lightly reared up again, and comforted with courteous kind reliefe. Then won from death, she bad him tell and plaine the further proceffe of her hidden griefe. The lesser pangs can beare, who hath endur'd the chiefe. Then gan the Pilgrim thus: I chaunce this day, this fatall day, that shall I ever rue, to see two Knights in travaile on my way, a sorry fight, arranged in battell new, both breathing vengeance, both of wrathfull hew. My fearefull flefh did tremble at their strife, to see their blades fo greedily embrue, that drunk with blood, yet thirsted after life. What more, the Red Cross Knight was flaine with Paynim knife. Ah, dearest Lord, quoth fhe, how might that be, and he the stoutest Knight that ever won? Ah, dearest Dame, quoth he, how might I see the thing, that might not be, and yet was done? Where is, fayd Satyrane, that Paynim's fon, that him of life and us of joy hath reft? Not farre away, quoth he hence doth wonne, forby a fountaine, where I late him left, washing his bloody wounds, that through the steele were cleft. Therewith the Knight thence marcht forth in haste, whilft Una with huge heavineffe oppreft, could not for sorrow follow him so faft. And foone he came, as he the place had gueft, whereas that Pagan proud himfelfe did reft, in fecret shadow by a fountaine fide. Even he it was, that erft would have fuppreft faire Una, whom when Satyrane efpide, with foule reprochfull words he boldly him defide, and said: Arife, thou cursed miscreant, that hast with knightleffe guile and treacherous traine faire knighthood foully shamed, and dost vaunt that good Knight of the Red Cross to have flaine. Arife, and with like treafon now maintaine thy guilty wrong, or elfe thee guilty yield. The Saracen this hearing rofe amaine, and catching up in haft his three-fquare fhield, and shining helmet, soone him buckled to the field. And drawing nigh him, said: Ah, misborne elfe, in evill houre thy foes thee hither fent, anothers wrongs to wreake upon thy selfe. Yet ill thou blamest me for having blent my name with guile and traitorous intent. That Red Cross Knight perdie I never slew. But had he been, where erft his armes were lent, th' enchanter vaine his error fhould not rue. But thou his error shalt, I hope now proven trew. Therewith they gan both furious and fell to thunder blowes, and fiercely to affaile, each other bent his enemy to quell, that with their force they pierced both plate and maile, and made wide furrows in their flefhes fraile, that it would pity any living eye. Large floods of blood adowne their fides did raile, but floods of blood could not them satisfie. Both hungered after death, both chofe to win or die. So long they fight, and fell revenge purfew, that fainting each, themfelves to breathen let, and oft refresht, battell oft renew, as when two boars with rankling malice met, their gory fides frefh bleeding fiercely fret, till breathleffe both themfelves afide retire, where foaming wrath their cruel tusks they whet, and trample the earth, And whileft they may refpire, then backe to fight againe. New